Is that a garbage truck? Yeah. It's the beginning of the show. I'm super tall today. Look out, everybody. What's up from our short hiatus of building stuff in the basement? What's up, weirdos? It is Friday, and we are here to do another fish-related live stream show thingamajigger. Never really figured out what we call this show. Maybe somebody will come up with a great idea for what we call this show. Just always referenced it as the live stream or whatever, you know? So maybe we'll come up with a good name. Apparently Aquarium Co-op has started uploading whenever I start my show. I'm gonna have to figure out what's up with that, Corey's decided to start uploading videos at 3 o'clock whenever I start my live stream. What's up with that? Does anybody understand what's up with that? I don't know what's up with that. Should probably go watch that video and come back here, though. Once you're done watching that, you can come back here, and we'll have our special guest. As our special guest will be here in just a second. He's in the chat, trolling y'all while y'all be chatting into the chat. Let's give a quick shout out to Jackson Koboyarks, first to the chat, quickly followed by Rumbust, largemouth bass, and we got a super chat here from Rumbust, the Swedish Krones. We're gonna have to do some maths here. 17.81 Swedish Krones. I don't even know what that is, but it's blue, so it's normally around $1. Thank you very much, my guy. Always appreciate it. 1781 is how many days I've been sober. So if you get it, we get 1 Swedish krone penny. Are they pennies? I don't even know. What are they called? What are the Swedish krone pennies? Swedish pennies?
It's like $2 right now.
We better look that up. Swedish pennies are called something. Swedish pennies are called. The word penny and its variations across Europe, including the German pfenning and the Swedish penning, originally denoted any sort of coin or money, not just a small denomination. Alright, that doesn't really help us anything. We already knew penning was Swedish. Duh, of course. Okay. Well, I don't know, Google's useless. A penny is a coin. Forms of these seem to have reached as far as Norway or Sweden. The English called this coin the cartwheel penny. Nonsense. Or the subdivision of the Swedish krona is a or. And I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, because it's a umlau is the first.
Umlaut.
It's a umlau or something. Or. It's the O with the 2 dots over it.
It's an ear.
Ear? Is it ear? Let's see. The corresponding subdivisions of the Norwegian and Danish krones are called or. Swedish krona, Danish krones, and Norwegian something. So I guess I should... Krones is Danish. Okay. Krona is Swedish. Regardless, I would love to be there right now, hanging out in old Sweden, because you guys will find out when we get to the Patreon questions. Rumbust is at the Aquarium convention in Sweden, and I would like to be at that. I would super love to be at that right now. I want to go to Sweden and Denmark. I think Tropica's headquarters is in Denmark, I think. Although I've been to one of the Tropica places in Germany.
They're in Denmark.
Are they in Denmark?
I don't know.
I think they're in Denmark.
I feel like they'd be in the Netherlands.
I feel like we should Google search that.
That's Googleable, isn't it?
Yeah. Tropica headquarters.
Whenever I think about somebody growing plants in greenhouses, I think of Holland. They grow all their plants in greenhouses.
What's that?
The Dutch.
The Dutch?
They grow all their tulips and stuff.
Almost everything.
You get perfect weather.
Tropica
it's
headquarters.
Flat. It's lots of water.
Oh, of course. Of course, United stuff, or of course, American stuff just like overlords the Google search, because all I'm getting is for Tropicana headquarters.
Want some orange juice?
Let's see here. Yeah, that's great. That's impossible to look up. Okay, cool. Tropicana has stolen the internet as far as anything along that spelling is concerned, but Tropica does have a place up in Canada, which we might be able to go to. Vancouver, Canada. Johan says, yes, Tropica is in Denmark. Okay, yeah. We got to go to Denmark. I got to go to Denmark. We got to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, and Ega, Denmark.
Ega? Probably saying that wrong. YouTube Dat Boy says, wish I was there. I don't know where you are. YouTube Da Boy, Dat Boy. Yeah, would have to know where you're at in order for me to respond to whether or not I wished I was there. Let's see, man, what happened to Frank Dominguez? He was always number one. He moved out of my attic. He got a new job. He got promoted. He got a new job, and he could afford to move out. He got his own place. Sad thing is, his internet's not as good, so he can't get as quickly to the chat as he used to, which is okay.
He lost the Wi-Fi password.
He no longer has the Wi-Fi password yet. That's a good point. He probably just doesn't have the password anymore, because, I'm not here to log him in. Okay, so we missed some shows this week, and that's fine. Not a big deal. But I do have to give a big shout out to our sponsor. Number one, the Aquarium Co-op. If you don't know, they are an affiliate sponsor, so there's no real cash out of the pocket. It's mainly just if you guys buy stuff, you can go through our affiliate link, as most of the products there have been vetted by not only Corey and Randy and Jimmy and Robert and Justin and Katie and all the cool people that work there, myself included. I do test some of the products also to find out if they are worthwhile and give you a shout out and let you know if it was cool or not. A perfect example of that would be Sarah Shrimp's natural shrimp sinking granules. Working out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with those. So I'm not telling you that you have to buy anything or anything like that, but if you do, hey, that's our affiliate sponsor, so it helps us out a little bit. Another way that you could help out is hit the join button on the YouTube channel, and you could be like, oh, I'm a member now, which means you get to show up and be able to chat and ask questions in the member-only live stream once a month, and it helps support the channel. It really does just pushes your couple of dollars towards YouTube and just be like, hey, why not promote this channel a little bit? Why not help out? Do all that kind of stuff. You just crush against the AdSense numbers. If you guys don't know what AdSense is, that's the advertising thing on YouTube, because YouTube is based on advertising. You could do that. You could hit the join button and you'd be somebody at $5 a month via YouTube. You don't even have to leave the platform or anything like that. Or you could go over to Patreon and become a patronizer. We have a little bit of a community there, and we're going to be highlighting some of the community posts today from the Patreon page. That's a third source place. You can do from $1 a month all the way up to, I believe the cap is $15,000 a month. If you want to sponsor this at $15,000 a month, I guess you could. Most people are about $1 to $5. Some are 10, and there's different tiers and stuff. Not a whole litany of like crazy rewards or anything like that. It's just another easy way for people to sponsor the show if they like. The YouTube videos, the creation, the cameras, the editing equipment, all that kind of stuff is slowly but surely atrophying my bank account into a tiny little compressed into like a star, and at some point in time it's gonna supernova and we're all gonna have problems. But thanks to the people on Patreon and all you guys supporting and everything, we're able to keep this thing going. Now, speaking of keeping this thing going, let's bring on our guest, Jay Swift, who's drove all the way out here from the Sea of Tranquility on the moon. That's where he's from. Oops, and I left this thing on. Hold on. I left the thing on.
Oh, no. The moon.
The window region. There we go.
Nice.
Okay.
The cheese there is great.
I accidentally left the wrong thing open there. But Jay is here. What's up, my man?
Not much.
How
How
you
you
doing?
I'm doing
Jay
well.
is immortal. He's part vampire, so he's 100 million years old. He's got tons of information. That's why we bring him on here to the show. He's like a bastion of knowledge, especially we were talking about 3D printers. Don't you have a degree now?
Engineering,
Engineering degree
mechanical.
in robot rocketry, magic wizard stuff.
I did some rocket stuff in school.
Rocket stuff?
Made a hybrid rocket motor.
Was that your was that
was-
your nickname in college? Rocket stuff?
Yeah.
Hey, it's all rocket stuff.
I just
might
did
be-
rocket science for fun, though. That was just like a fun thing.
Yeah.
I did combustion science.
I used to clean a rocket scientist's property,
Well,
like where they did experiments and
does
stuff.
that count as rocket science?
What's that?
Cleaning the rocket science?
No. I was
No.
just cleaning up their garbage and refuse and nonsense.
The terrible part about rocket stuff is that when it goes wrong, you can't fix it.
Yeah.
It's
Normally
just-
it's catastrophic
it's
failure. Although, dude, I do have to admit, the times that I was there while they were testing some of the engines, really cool.
Yeah.
You know, makes a guy think.
Loudest sound
Hey.
you could ever make.
Maybe I want to get into this rocket surgery.
Rocket surgery.
Become a rocket surgeon, you know? Like a real cool dude. And then I was like, oh, I don't know. Kind of tired. Went home, took a nap instead.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those people just sleep there.
Although I did see a sweet YouTube video about how to make your own YouTube rockets the other day.
I mean, you can just go buy like the little black powder ones.
Yeah, but it was how to make those.
Oh.
You know, like make your own, the cardboard tube.
Yeah, do not
um,
recommend
What?
making your own.
Why not?
You can blow yourself up.
It was very detailed, though.
Yeah, but on YouTube. Come on. You can't recommend blowing yourself up.
I didn't recommend to blow yourself up. I'm saying it was a very detailed, like, how to do this and not screw it up.
The sketchiest part is that, like, when you're doing a hybrid rocket motor or a solid rocket motor, you have to put some sort of fuel in a tube, like a really big version of that, like
You got to have tubes.
6-inch diameter,
Tubes
6
with
foot long. Yeah, and it's like super explosive, and you gotta mix it, and it gets hot, and it can't
Right.
get too hot, or else it ignites, and like it can literally send a rocket like 30 miles high.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I guess people like make their own shotgun shells and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
I mean, I don't recommend anybody, like, hurting themselves. Don't get hurt, you guys. Stay safe out there. Wear your PPE and be safe.
Yeah, and don't smoke while you're doing it.
Yeah, don't smoke at all. That's ridiculous. Vape Nash, bro.
Right.
Vape Nash. Get in the vape. And then people are like, you know, if they smell your vape, they're like, man, I'm really hungry for cotton candy right now. I don't know why.
Strawberries.
Oh my God, strawberries. I like strawberries. You know, that kind of stuff is good for people, right? I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Strawberries are good for you.
Strawberries what?
Are good for you.
Strawberries are good for you. Yeah. But you know. Jessica T. Gardner says, but if YouTube said it must work. Yeah, of course. Of course it does. Cole Wenger got ripped out of the stream. Ooh, what happened? Did the internet try to get you? RC Fab says, let's call it the Freaky Friday Fish. The Freaky Friday Fish Fest. All right.
Ooh, yeah, that's good.
Maybe. I don't know. That doesn't have quite that ring I'm looking for. It's too many F's. It's too many F bombs.
Doesn't the internet use F as like a pay respects thing? Like press F to pay respects?
No, you press F5.
F5. That's the get out of, that's the kill the program thing, right?
Maybe. Let's see. Candy Overall says hi to Brian. Oh, hey, Brian P. What's up? Oh, that's a difficult name to just have only read. Silken Summers. What's up?
Silken Summers.
Let's see. Bentley Pascal is here. What's the best way to lessen the sound of a sump's intake hidden away in an overflow? Durso, something else? Silencing an overflow, or silence a sump's intake hidden away in an overflow. Oh, okay. Siphon. Siphon's going to be the best thing to make it quiet, silent.
Like Herbie.
Like a Herbie, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Herbie would probably be the best. A bean animal.
A bean animal.
Bean animal would be good. Durso is noisier. Although Durso is more reliable.
Well, I like the Herbie with the emergency drain one. Like the 3-tube one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of mine are Herbies with an emergency drain now. So if you think of it this way, you have one return pipe coming up. So that's going to be coming from the pump down in the sump up into the tank. And then 2 pipes in the overflow that return down. One's an emergency and one is basically your standard siphon. So,
well, some people go further and they put 3 down. They have, because you need a siphon that's always 100% full of water, and then you need a second pipe that just has a trickle of water, because that's what guarantees that the siphon's always 100% full.
Yeah,
is that there's like a little trickle, and then the third pipe is 100% dry, and that's the super paranoid emergency drain.
Emergency drain.
Yeah.
I normally go. I do mine with gate valves now, so it's super easy to fine tune them.
Yeah.
I know many years ago when I started doing it, I was using ball valves, and they are just a bear to try and get set right. And with the DC return pumps that I use now, it's really easy to set how much water is going back into the tank. So I can actually set the siphon really easily between the gate valve and the DC pump, because I can adjust how much the pump is returning. It does make it quite easy now to do it that way. Whereas the gate valves, which are the ones, or the not the gate valves, the ball valves, the ones that you get at the hardware store, they kind of turn and they just have like right. Those are super difficult to try and get set correct and keep correct.
Yeah.
Because a gate valve has a straight flush piece. So like if this is the pipe, right? If this is the pipe, a gate valve closes like this. Like there's literally a gate that just goes straight across the pipe. Doesn't get clogged that much. Whereas a ball valve is like a ball inside there, and it's all cupped around the pipe, and that cupping normally leads to stuff getting caught when it's all like kind of closed, when it's closed up. When you like close it down, the edges there are rounded, and it tends to get a lot of stuff caught.
Yeah,
in that
a ball
turbulent
valve
area
makes the water make 2 turns. In a gate valve, it doesn't have to make any turns.
Yeah, no turns.
No turns.
It's just going through.
Yeah. A ball valve is better generally if you have it wide open. It flows better.
Yeah.
But a gate valve gives you sort of a more linear adjustment rather than kind of like a ball valve. You've got 2 circles that are closing on each other. So what is that? That's a sine squared function.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah, because you have 3. Wait, is it 3 circumferences that you're dealing with? Because you have this one, and this one.
Whatever.
Right?
I'm sure I could figure it out.
Yeah, well.
Whatever. Yeah, it's too hard. Don't use a ball valve.
It's turbulent, and there's a thing in the way.
The only if you already have a ball valve, the only thing I could recommend is go get a 2x4, cut a slot in it to give yourself like a 4-foot handle on your ball valve, so that you can move the ball valve in very small increments with that very long handle. Right. And then you can adjust your ball valve.
You could
more fine
with a crazy long handle. The stupid short handles on the ball valves. I have even yelled at the people, and I mean in a friendly way, that run the plumbing department at Home Depot. And I'm like, just order in a couple of these gate valves. I will come in and buy them.
Yeah. As long as you keep them in stock,
yeah, if
they
you
will
keep
all
them
be
in stock,
sold.
I'll come in here and buy them. I don't want to order them from, I don't want to order them from Amazon, but I literally have to get gate valves off of Amazon. Even the plumbing supplier that I go to, they can get them, but they can only order the Spears brand. And Spears is sort of the top of the game when it comes to those kinds of parts and stuff, but they are, being the top of the game, are the most expensive. So you could literally find like a 1-inch gate valve is like $45.
Oh man.
Yeah. And you could buy a knockoff brand that is also Schedule 80 PVC, which is the most durable PVC. There are higher grades, but don't worry about those. You'll never need them. And you can get the ones off of Amazon. They're about $11, something like that. So it just gives you the idea that, like, oh, I could go get a Spears one at my plumbing supply, and it's like $45. Or I could just get one off of Amazon that's like $11 and have to wait like 4 or 5 days for it to show up because it's like they're probably not even in the state. They're probably coming from Kentucky or some dumb place. Not that Kentucky's dumb. I would love to live in Kentucky, but
It's just 2,000 miles away to get the part you need.
exactly. Like no one's got them stocked here. That's what I mean is dumb.
Yeah.
Like it's Western Washington, man. There's water and
There's lots of water.
cows and sprinklers everywhere. Like
And there's like 4 million people here.
just get a gate valve. There's more than 4 million people in Washington.
I was just thinking in the like
Tacoma area.
Tacoma area.
Yeah, there's a lot of people in this
the
area.
like Olympia, Tacoma.
It's ridiculous. You know what we should do is move to the top of a mountain.
As long as it's not Rainier or
Rainier, you mean?
Rainier.
Yeah, it's actually pronounced Rainier. It's more fancy that way.
Would it be safer to go
You can't
on?
say Rainier. It's not Mount Rainier.
There's some pretty exclusive property in this St Helens place.
The mountain of St Helens.
It's mountain of St Helens.
I ran up there a little while ago during their craziest storm. Like, I think a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Really?
I was driving up from Oregon, and I was like, Mount St Helens. I want to go up there.
Yeah.
So I drove up there.
Took a 50-mile
And
detour.
it was like 60-mile-an-hour winds, and it was like pouring down rain. And I stopped at the first like little center thing there. And if anybody knows about Mount St Helens, it blew up. If you guys don't know, in 1980, May 13th.
I don't know.
Is that right?
I wasn't alive.
It exploded. Like as much as you could think of a volcano exploding, like exploding, it kabloobied. It's not even a word. I made it up. It blew up a big time. And so there is like even some centers there. When did it blow up?
May 18,
May 18th, not the 13th, the other round number.
1980. But also blew up on July 10th, 2008.
It's a joke. It didn't blow up. It just gassed.
Just tooted
It
a
was
little
just
bit.
silently farting. It was just silently farting in somebody's living room. But it blew up. So I went to that center, and there was nobody there, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Like it's just a ghost town.
Well, 60-mile-an-hour winds.
It was super stormy out.
Yeah.
So I go in there, and the ranger is in there. Like, I'm like, what's up? She's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I'm here to look around at mountain stuff, man. This place blew up, right? I was kind of like joking my ignorance, right? And she's like, yeah, well, you know, okay, well, let's go look around at some of the stuff. So we walked around, just like nobody there. So I'm just like kind of chummy up with her. She's like super nice lady. She's like an older gal, like probably retirement age. And we're kind of like cruising around, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go up to the top. And she's like, it is the worst storm we've had in like decades, and you're going to go up? And so there's an observatory up there. So I drove up to the observatory up at the top, which is not at the peak.
Right.
It's like 2/3 of the way or something like that. And then and there's probably 1,200 parking spots, something like that.
And there's no one.
I had my choice of all of the parking spots. I literally was the only car that like pulled up, and it was just like coming down raining like crazy. And I was like, oh, well, all right, hey, who's real cool? I get all the parking spots. So then I go in there, and there's 2 rangers in there. They're the only guys that have showed up to work at the entire observatory up top. And he's like, and they're like, what are you doing here? The younger guy comes up, he's like, are you lost or something? I'm like, nah, man, what's up? I'm gonna like go up in this mountain. He's like, I would not recommend that at all. I'm like, you sound like the kind of guy who would not recommend a good time. And yeah, so I went out there and I jogged around the observatory trail, went all the way up,
Oh, that's cool.
went around up around the peak and stuff, and came back, and they were like, man, you made it back. And I was just like, like just totally sopping wet, nasty. They were like, "Man, you made it back," and I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm not dead. Totally made it." They were like, "Yeah, we thought you were gonna die," and I was like, "Nope, I'm cool."
The two of them were probably just like so relieved they didn't have to go out and
They
find
didn't have
you.
to go out, and be like, "Where'd that guy go?"
They're like, "He's back. Sweet. I don't have to get cold and wet." I always wanted to get the pass to like go hike the backwoods part of that, the backcountry part, but they only have so many in
Where at?
Mount St Helens.
Oh, the backwoods there?
Yeah, there's like I don't know.
There's a good amount of trails and some good spots you can go to, especially spring and summertime.
Yeah.
I recommend. I think Rainier is a little bit better.
Yeah.
But Mount St. Helens has some unique opportunities because of the restoration of the ecosystems there for the rivers and streams.
Yeah.
That are really cool, and you can go on those, and I think they're free because they're hosted by the park ranger. What am I saying? National Forest Service.
Yeah, Forest Service.
You can go on some of that stuff and actually observe some of the restoration and seeing what the how the ecosystem actually recovers itself.
Yeah,
it's really cool, because we're actually being able to watch total devastation and then how things come back real time.
Yeah,
so it's been 39 years since that blew up, and they wiped the slate clean, pretty much. So they've actively been just tracking it as much as they can to figure out exactly what happens. Fancy Tail Aquatics is in Louisville. Louisville. Last time I was in Louisville, everybody kept giving me a hard time because I was saying Louisville. And they're like, "That's not how you say it. You say Louisville." Louisville. Like, you gotta have a lot of something in your mouth. And I was having a good time. I thought Louisville was a beautiful city. I had a great time while I was there, other than my sister's dog escaped, and I had to run all around Louisville to catch the dog, to return it back home.
We went to Kentucky Derby a couple years ago, and yeah, we stayed at an Airbnb, and the people were laughing at us because we didn't know how to talk about Louisville.
Louisville.
I just started saying Louisville, and then it didn't matter. People were so offended. It was fine.
Try to say Versailles.
Versailles.
That's Versailles.
Versailles.
I said Versailles, and I got yelled at that it's Versailles, and I was like, no, it's not.
Well, it's like Montpellier is Montpelier.
Montpelier.
I
love Kentucky though. I had a great time out there. The Shaker Village. We went to one of the Shaker villages out there. Oh, dude.
Perrier.
I'm telling you, if you got some woodworking and some people that are into a weird religion, I'll probably show up there and check it out.
Woodworking is already kind of its own weird religion.
It is its own weird religion. I think that's part of it.
It's like a doubled up weird religion.
Yeah, but those Shakers had all that weird. They came up with a lot of carpentry techniques because of being Shakers. Because of the crazy.
Because it's all
religious
simple
ceremonies
stuff
that they would do and all the dancing and stuff.
Oh.
They would literally bring the building down
because of all their like coordinated dancing.
Yeah.
It's like the Mythbusters with the...
Just like Kevin Bacon in Footloose. He brought the whole town down,
Yeah.
I mean, it's legit. We should probably file some laws about that kind of stuff. Like, you can't just be going Footloose, dancing on top of a Volkswagen Beetle.
Right.
Inappropriate. Everyone's loins are heated up, and then we have all these random babies strewn about. You know what I'm saying.
Oh, Bentley has a follow-up.
Bentley is eventually going to get a 480 or a 600 gallon from Clear Fabrications. That's my guy. That's Jason. I've got my tanks from Jason. Corey's gotten his tanks from Jason. Alyssa got some tanks from Jason recently. Jason does great work, so feel free to check him out. He's not the easiest guy to contact because I believe you have to email him or message him like on his Facebook page or whatnot, or maybe he has a phone number. I don't know, but
I think there's a phone number.
I think there is a phone number if you find Clear Fabrications. Just not the easiest to look up, like on a Google search. But
go on
if you're a
Facebook.
little persistent, go to Facebook, that kind of stuff. You'll be able to find him.
Yeah, he's got a phone number on his Facebook page.
Oh, he's got a phone number on there?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a huge burden for a lot of people. They don't like to make phone calls. Let's see. Somebody was asking, where did it go? HDJC86 says, can I ask a plumbing question? Am I supposed to tape threaded PVC connections? I plumbed in a whole house filter for a Surges reactor, and it's slowly dripping at the taped connection. Tighten or remove tape. Am I supposed to tape thread PVC connections? Are you talking about slip fit connections? You only tape threaded PVC connections. Yes.
Unless it's one of those... They started making furniture PVC stuff with straight threads rather than pipe threads. And that's a problem because straight threads almost never seal.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
You need an O-ring to make a straight thread seal. Pipe threads become interference, and that's why you have the tape works, because it's like a lubrication until there's enough physical pressure within the threads that it acts as a water seal.
The pressure.
But with straight threads, you never generate that until they stop. So hopefully it's pipe threads, and then you want to use tape.
Yes. Only... And if you didn't use enough tape on the threaded, threading it together, just undo it, take the thread tape off, and do more next time.
You could also use pipe.
I think one of the things with threading and thread tape, I think most people don't put enough on there.
Yeah.
They think like, oh, I did like a little bit. There we go. It's like, no, keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, do more than you think.
The whole point is that it runs into itself and you can't turn it anymore. So if you put more tape on there, it's just going to clog up a little faster.
Yep.
So it'll be fine.
Because
those threads, they're tapered. So like as they thread in, they just run into each other.
Yep, they just get tighter and tighter.
Yeah.
Bare Bottom Aquarium says, do you ever worry about the ammonia from the dying plant leaves under the substrate after replanting? Do I ever worry about that? No, I don't.
No. Unless you... No.
It's kind of weird. You wouldn't really have ammonia from the dying leaves.
I mean, technically, you could have...
Yeah, I mean, you could have a tiny bit, but it's gonna convert from nitrite to nitrate.
And there shouldn't be too many leaves under the substrate anyways.
Yeah, I mean, like maybe the old stems. Maybe that's what
the
they're
old
saying.
stems. Yeah,
but if there's old stems under the substrate and they melt off, it's really innocuous.
Yeah.
Not a big deal. And if there's old stems under the substrate, they might sprout roots and start growing. That's kind of the two options that you got.
Yeah. I pick the leaves off when I put stems in anyways.
What's that?
Like the part that I'm going to bury, I take the leaves off of it just by hand.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you just trim those leaves off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that melt from plants, like that decay from plants, like, yeah, there might be like a little bit of ammonia, but I just really like, it's never really anything to affect all that much.
It's so slow.
Yeah.
If it's going to be anything.
We got a 4-pound super chat from SED Aquatics. Says Corvus are no Omnivore Plex shrimp breeds safe.
L number Omnivore Plecos.
Oh, L number omnivorous plecos. Shrimp breed safe. Most plecos are shrimp safe. So, yeah, I wouldn't even condone anybody buying a common pleco at all for any reason at this point in time, unless you had like a swimming pool that you wanted to put a couple in there.
Yeah.
You know, but most of the L-numbered plecos are either dwarf or going to stay small for a long period of time. Like we saw the phase 4 gold nugget pleco, and it was like this big.
Oh man.
and that thing was like 1,500 euros.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That is a gold nugget.
Yeah. It was majestic, and I took the worst pictures you've ever seen of it, and I feel like a total idiot for not having done a better job with that. I was really tired. I was like super jet lagged and stuff. But, you know, yeah, if I'm honest, that's how I was. So that's probably why that happened. And, you know, I would wager, I guess, anything that's like that big would probably eat some shrimps, but I wouldn't think it was like on purpose.
Yeah, shrimp are
I think just something with a mouth that big would like accidentally eat shrimp.
Even little shrimplets like can squirt themselves 2 inches away.
Yeah, they zip away. They zip away quite well.
You jump real fast.
Yeah, most plecos that do eat protein, like they eat meat and stuff like that, they're generally looking for dead stuff.
Yeah.
You know, they're not like attacking and killing things. They're not really predatorial. They're just taking advantage of, you know, hey, I can eat meat or vegetables, you know.
Yeah.
I always feel bad for like clown plecos and wood plecos that like you can
Whereas-
only be around where there's some wood you can eat. Like,
Yeah.
that seems rough to me.
Yeah. Especially
Like,
if
hey, what do you eat, bro? Are you vegan? Like, nah, well, yeah. But like it's even worse than that. Like, I only eat wood.
I feel like they have to eat more than just wood. There's no way that they can only eat wood.
Why?
There's the amount of energy. I guess that could be a certain kind of wood. But the amount of energy it takes to like cut the wood versus how much exists inside
Termites,
of it.
bro.
As termites. I mean, cows and horses.
They
They're
only
the same.
eat grass,
They're only eating grass.
which is like bamboo.
Or like
'Cause
chickens
bamboo
when
is grass.
chickens get in the way.
What's that?
Have you ever seen like videos of cows eating chicks?
I have seen that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's on purpose.
No.
It doesn't do them.
They don't
well.
spit them out though.
It does. But it doesn't. They do not do well having eaten that.
No, that doesn't
Their
digest
stomachs-
properly in a
their
rumen.
stomachs get all messed up.
Yeah,
And they
how does
normally
it-
get sick.
How does a wood plec? Does it just have a bunch of bacteria that digest that, like a cow? Like, do they have rumens? Is it a fish with a rumen?
I think so. I think. No. They don't have rumen, but they're. If you ever had like a wood pleco, you'll notice like they spend a lot of time in the same spot, and they really shred the wood up really fine.
Yeah.
So I think that like what they do is they kind of like chew on it and then eat the shredded stuff that kind of falls down. Like they kind of clean up the pile a little bit, but they're a mess. It's been a long time since I kept anything like.
I never
any
kept
of
them because I was like, Ancestors is as far as I'm going into the pleco land.
Jessica says she loves bristlenose. They are awesome. Yeah, I like the super red bristlenose I have. I really enjoy the bristlenose that I have. They're just a fantastic fish, and they're shrimp safe. You know. Let's see. As in, are they safe to go in my shrimp breeding tank? I'm a bare bottom discus breeder. Plants and shrimp are alien to me. I think the biggest issue that you would have with a shrimp breeding colony is that you really want to mitigate the amount of waste from fish. So the immediate ammonia and stuff like that, and just the changes that could happen in the water parameters. Now, I don't think that's that big of a deal if you have quite a healthy volume of water. You know, if you have a pretty big aquarium, you know, if you've got like 200 gallons of water, a couple of little plecos isn't going to be that big of a deal. But, you know, if you had like a 10-gallon tank and then you throw a couple of little plecos in there, it could really alter the water quality in relation to the fish. They wouldn't really be eaten, though. But it really would like mess with the water quality. I think it's just a lot of waste.
Yeah, it's all about like meal size and instantaneous waste.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, plecos are like
The
feasting.
shrimp are good at cleaning up, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a little 12-gallon with only 7.5 gallons of water in it
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot of dirt and stuff,
Sticks and rocks.
sticks
and
and rocks and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm even thinking about taking my 8 white clouds that are adults
Mhm.
out of it because there's 300 babies in there now that are all swimming around. And I feel like it's enough fish with just the babies in there.
It's enough.
And
it's
there's
enough fish.
I could stick them outside in a little pond and it'll be fine.
It might be okay.
But like the shrimp, you know, the shrimp need space, and I can't keep feeding all those fish in that little 7.5 gallons of water and keep the shrimp happy.
Are you sure?
No.
But are you sure?
I'm not actually sure.
You might be.
I don't know.
You might not be.
This 12-gallon tank is the hardest thing I've ever done.
It's the hardest thing you've ever done?
Yeah. Because I'm trying to cram too much stuff into too small of a tank.
Oh.
Right?
Oh?
So, like, if you have like a 20 or a 40-gallon tank, which are like reasonable tanks that anyone can have,
yeah, it's
hard to screw those up quickly. Right? Like, if you know what you're doing, it's hard to just screw it up quickly. And you need to have like 100 little nanofish in one of those in order to really make it go off somewhere. Or a dozen Plecos and you feed a whole can of green beans or something like that. But when you have a 7-gallon tank and you're trying to cram 100 shrimp into it and 300 white cloud babies, then it's really hard. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really care if some of them die, though.
It's hard to have that many fish in that small of a tank. Like, that's not easy.
It's crazy. But they're all in the, like, pearlescent green phase now. So the whole top of the tank is just, like, sparkling green pearlescent blobs. That are all just... Because they're all, 5 millimeters long or something like that. With a little 1 millimeter glowing blob. It's cool.
Yeah, I got my little picture of Olivia here. She's being a peanut. Okay, but sounds like your tank's going well. We should get an update of that fairly soon. Maybe we should come over there and film it.
I still have hair algae problems, so.
Okay, well, we'll let you get your hair algae figured out.
Yeah.
Let's go over here to the Patreon questions of the day. Real quick. Cheshire Cat is in the wild. Horses live on grass and vegetation, but horses kept for riding and especially competing are usually supplemented with hay, grains, and such because of energy and nutrients spent. It's a good point.
Well, yeah. My wife's a veterinarian, equine veterinarian. So
yeah. Jay's wife is a horse doctor.
Horse doctor.
We need a horse doctor in the hospital.
Yeah. So, yeah, they're false ruminants. They have a cecum, which is like a weird part of their large intestine that does digestion for them.
Yeah.
And grains have a lot of sugar in them. So when you're exercising a lot, you can use grains. But out in the wild, if there was grass and it went to seed and they were going down a meadow, they'd all just be mowing off the seeds, the seed heads. They'd be ignoring the
stalk.
The stalk, because they're just like, well, why should I? They don't have parents. They're going to eat all the candy they want and not eat their vegetables.
That makes sense.
Because that's like every animal.
I would do that.
No one's responsible.
I would consider having ice cream now.
The biggest difference is like wild horses only live to be like 7 or 10.
That's a good point. Tell me about these wild horses while I eat cookies.
Wild horses only live to be like 7 to 10, because then that's when like middle age just catches up with them, and then they can't just eat cookies all the time. They have to be responsible, and then they usually end up dying. But horses in captivity can be like 35, because people are smart enough that they can punish them and force them to eat their vegetables.
Really?
Yeah. It's not really punishment. You're still like an able-bodied horse until you're
35.
Yeah. It's easy. Well, I wouldn't say easy. It's common to get to 30 plus.
I've never seen a 35-year-old horse.
They start not having teeth anymore.
Really?
Yeah. Horses are like, their teeth constantly get exposed. They have a tooth and it starts up at their eyeball when they're a baby. And then it kind of just moves forward as it wears down until it falls out.
Yeah. I do know that. I got some horse teeth.
And by the time they're 30 plus, they basically don't have teeth anymore. But then people can take grain and mash it up, and then they can just have like applesauce grain while they're old and just slurp it all up.
When do you think let's see, because horses went out of service in the 20s, right?
Yeah.
More or less.
Eclipsed by cars then? Yeah.
And that was mainly because there was too much horse manure.
Yeah.
Like, that was the motivation. Most people don't realize that. Like, the motivation for cars wasn't so much that people wanted to, like, cruise around.
Right.
It's that people did not want to throw out horse shit anymore.
Yeah. I think a horse makes like 30 pounds a day.
It's a lot. Like, there was a point in time where that was a huge business in New York City, was just removing horse manure.
Yeah. A typical quarter
like,
horse
I
makes
think
35 pounds of poop a day.
Yeah, and I think they were saying it was something like 1.5 million pounds of manure every day.
Yeah. Well, if you had, I mean, like New York had like a few million horses. So so that'd be like 10 million pounds of poop a day.
That's like 35 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have 35 times 1.
Well, if they're all walking around downtown at the same, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, it would all be in the city.
Yeah. Literally millions of tons.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Well, and that
Forever.
the modern equivalent of that is like, so people didn't like the smell of horse poop, and that's kind of what drove everyone to want to get cars. And what people forget is that electric cars were the first kind of cars that existed.
Right.
And the thought was that it didn't have any emissions.
Oh, that's also like some of the anti-vaxxers I've been arguing with. They like to point out that disease went down, you know, from 1900 to 1940, right?
Yeah.
When they're like, the vaccines weren't even introduced yet. And I'm like, they're like, see here, I found this paper that says clean water is how disease goes down. And I'm like, yeah, but you do have to take into consideration there were some gigantic changes between 1900 and 1940,
right?
Especially in the United States, with all of the horse manure and all of this stuff, the disease that was being spread around on a regular basis.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how much horse manure was around that they were moving? 35 million pounds a day.
In like New York
Not
City.
tons a day, 35 million pounds. So that's 14 tons, right? 14 million tons. Divide by 2,000.
Divide by 1,000.
No, divide by 2,000.
Right. Yeah, but 14 million divided by 1,000. So 140,000 tons.
140,000 tons.
14,000 tons. Ah, gosh, doing
yeah,
math
because
on the
3
internet.
zeros. Yeah, there we go. Take 3 zeros off, so.
Yep.
Yeah, 140.
14 million.
14,000 tons.
14,000 tons.
14,000 tons a day, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. We've got it.
We've got it.
We've got it. So, 14,000 tons of manure moved a day. How much disease do you think that was spreading around?
14,000 tons of disease.
Yeah, right?
Well, the whole anti-vaxxer thing is really
So then
silly.
it's like, yeah, people didn't die of measles, but they died of diphtheria from the horse manure being constantly dragged around the streets of New York.
Well, like smallpox.
And smallpox.
Right? Smallpox, we figured out, royal we or whatever, figured out smallpox vaccine in like 1800.
Yeah.
So, and they were using cows to create the
That's
vaccine.
Right. And then there was a bunch of people thought that they were trying to turn people's children into cows because of the cow.
Because of the cow. Oh, no, that's
cow
great.
smallpox. You know that, right?
No, that's great.
Like, the people back then thought that they were trying to infect people with some kind of cow genes or something. I don't know.
Oh, that's hilarious. Well, yeah. I could, but cowpox?
Cowpox is what smallpox was derived from originally.
Yeah, because it was like a non-human active version of it or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you could study it back then because they didn't wash their hands.
Huh.
Because they thought hand washing was a bad idea.
Right. Well, yeah. Yeah.
They thought that if you just smelled good smells,
that it would be fine. I don't know. Well, okay, we've had people recently talk about getting like chickenpox like stuff on their arms from sticking their hands in their aquariums. And that's where I go, like, I stuck my hands in my aquariums for years.
That's a rash or bacterial typically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as soon as I'm done sticking my arm in my aquarium, I wash my hands.
You should wash your hands after having your hands in an aquarium, yes.
Yeah.
And even just on the fact that almost all of our aquariums have salmonella in them.
Yeah.
So if you're going direct from your tank into your mouth or someone else's mouth or eyes, any
Ears.
mucousy areas on your body,
Right.
like eyes, nose, mouth,
Right.
butt, you run a real risk of a salmonella infection, which typically doesn't post up as fast as people think. People think you get like salmonella poisoning and you get sick like an hour later. It's typically a 12 to 24 hour turnaround. So what'll happen is somebody will give themselves salmonella poisoning, then they go out to a restaurant the next morning. Then by lunch they get sick, and then they call the restaurant and go like, "You gave me food poisoning," and I go, "When were you here?" And they're like, 3 hours ago. And it's like, that's not.
It's too early.
There is no food poisoning that's that fast acting.
Right.
And then they write a Yelp review.
If there was, we could weaponize it.
Then they write a Yelp review, and then the circle of life has been completed. Yes.
Oh, I love those Yelp review teardowns.
But that rash stuff is typically bacterial.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say like run to your doctor right away, but clean it and put something on it that will help. That's antibacterial. That's not like,
That's
bleach.
not nuke your skin stuff.
Yeah.
Not like iodide scrubbing.
And then if it's still
surgery.
there the next day, then I would go to the doctor, and they'll scrape your skin and look at it under a microscope, like doctors do, and then they'll be able to give you a good idea of what to do.
Yep. And my mother-in-law is going through this right now. She has puppies, so but she was kissing her puppies before they had all of their deworming stuff done. So now we're telling her that she has to get dewormed because because that's stuff that's easily transferred, and the dogs are. So if you had puppies in the last 6 months or so, and you kissed them before they got all their dewormer, they went through their full 3 or 4 days of dewormer.
Yeah.
You might want to go get dewormed yourself.
It's probably a good idea.
And that's going to be gross.
Alyssa says, "Oh man, I have the worst aquarium-related personal hygiene. I totally mouth start siphons." I do that all the time too. So I'm not saying that it's a problem.
I have a little self-starting siphon.
The biggest side effect of having salmonella poisoning is diarrhea. So I always just give myself diarrhea, and then I never worry about salmonella.
If you have nonstop diarrhea, you don't have to worry about it? I mean, as long as you drink enough water, right? As long as you drink enough of that siphoned water.
Diarrhea is like the number 4 killer in the world.
Yeah, so you don't get dehydrated.
Yeah, don't get that. That's not good.
Diarrhea.
I'm actually just making a joke about diarrhea.
Diarrhea kills everyone through dehydration. And you physically cannot drink enough water. You could pump water straight into your veins, and diarrhea can still kill you.
You can't pump water directly into your veins, not just water.
Well, like, a saline bag.
Saline, you got banana bag that.
But
you need those electrolytes, bro.
Even...
That's what plants crave.
That's what plants crave.
Brano, thirst mutilated. All right, let's get to our Patreon stuff here. Let's stop talking about diarrhea. People are going to freak out. They're going to lose it. Sorry. It's Friday. You know how it is. But we got our first post here from Preston John, one of our producers on Patreon. If you don't know what that is, go over there and check it out. Basically, if you're at the Patreon level, you get an opportunity to make a request on me to make a video on what you want that month. Like, what's the topic? I'm not going to give you, like, specific filming shots or anything like that, but, hey, if you got a topic you want me to try and cover, that's how you can get in on it. But Preston writes in, what should I breed next? Puffer? Killifish? Pleco? As you guys know, I got my puffer fishes from Preston. He definitely dives deep into the strumpf here of breeding. And I would say killifish are probably kind of easy for you. Plecos, I would say, yeah, if you can get some of the really cool number ones. Like that, what was that? The blue phantom pleco?
Yeah, those things are cool.
I saw one of those yesterday when I was up at the co-op. And those are awesome.
Yeah.
Those Goldie Plecos, get out of here, bro. Those are so cool. Corey's got one in his 800. I want those bad. I can't afford that kind of nonsense, though. They're like
Whoa.
$300 a fish, $400 a fish.
Preston doesn't care, though. He started with
Preston
Scootin' Fruities.
might be the guy.
Yeah.
Like, start breeding those Goldies.
He's like the Robin Hood style guy.
the patron saint of
the patron. Yeah, more than
fish.
Robin Hood. Better than Robin Hood. Patron
He's
saint of fish.
doing a great job, I have to admit. I hope to get a new puffer fish from him soon. Oh, speaking of puffer fish and Preston and meeting up with people and all that kind of stuff, I have brought this up on a couple of the most recent videos and stuff of the possibility of setting up a aquascaping / studio space that is not at my house. It's not at Corey's house. It's not at, like, let's say Lucas Bretz's house. It's not at Aquaprose's house. It's not at Flip Aquatics' house. It's not at Zenzo Tazawa's house. It's not at Bob Steenfat's house. It's not at anybody's house, which I feel like is an ongoing issue.
Yeah.
This is the problem. Everybody building these projects at their house is awesome. Everybody making the videos about them is awesome. There's a big time downside here that nobody is making these projects in what I would consider to be a professional space that you could possibly have people come to. This is my new goal. This is my new current goal that I am working on. We shall see how this works out. And I know that somebody, including myself, had this thought, man, maybe I shouldn't vocalize this because maybe somebody will steal my idea. Now, frankly, I don't care. Steal my idea away. Like, steal it. The more places like this that we could have around the U.S., in Europe, in South America, in Australia, in Asia, wherever, the better. I think is a good thing.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of people have chimed in. A lot of people let me know what's going on, and they're like, man, I have real concerns about making it profitable. And you know what? Here's the deal. We're not going to overshoot the budget. We're not going to go crazy and open up some kind of space that costs $10,000 a month to run. You obviously got to be on a bit of a shoestring budget, but this is my plan. I want to have a space that I could literally go whatever date I will be at the I'll be at the live space, like working on a tank. We'll probably shoot a video, blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. And it's going to be really problematic if I continue to do it at my house. I can never really do that because I can't invite 100 people to come to my house.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not going to work. So,
it's not big enough.
A Bare Bottom Aquarium says, I hope you're not giving up on the 20,000 movable aquarium. That is, we have not given up on that, but we still have not hit that goal.
Right.
I put in a goal onto Patreon that basically includes like being able to open up a space and then just run it. So it is kind of a lofty goal. It's at like $6,500 a month, which is crazy high, you know, but I kind of had to set it up at that like a little bit of a higher level because like I don't know how much insurance is going to cost. I don't know how much, any of that kind of stuff. So kind of built in the cost a little bit higher than I was even kind of worried about. But that's that's kind of our current goal up there on Patreon and stuff. And it's just definitely something that I want to do. And not only because, I want to be able to interact with the fans that feels like a real interaction. You know what I mean? There's another big convention this weekend, the Aquascaping down in Texas. I think it's great. Like, if people could attend that, I think it's fantastic. I think it's, if it's something that you can afford to do, like, I think that is great. And you should definitely go because it looks to be a lot of fun. I haven't been to Aquascaping specifically, but for me, it really was like, man, that's going to blow up my production budget for like 2 months. So that really is that was really my concern, was kind of, limiting my ability to make videos and instructional stuff and all that kind of thing that I'm, more and more trying to do. Really was going to cut back on the budget to be able to do that. So, I had to make that decision on like which conventions I'm going to go to this year. And unfortunately, Aquascaping was not in the cards. And there also was no, as far as my end here, there wasn't any kind of like sponsorship stuff to be able to go. So, it was kind of like, hey, if I'm going to pay full price, I want to go to a thing I really want to go to. And I was in Texas last year, and I don't feel like I got to go back to Texas right now.
Yeah.
My next stop I'm trying to go to is Florida. Trying to get down to Florida. But, the Aquatic Gardeners Association is going to be here real soon. That's like May 5th, so it's like a month away, basically. 5 weeks away.
2 through 5, I think.
What's that?
May 2nd through 5th?
2nd through the 5th? Yeah, I think so. So I'll be at that convention, and then I don't know if I'm going to go to Aquatic Experience this year or anything like that, but I think it's going to be a really good opportunity that if YouTubers come to town, if other people want to come to the workspace, stuff like that, and work on projects, get help filming, like learn things and stuff, I think it'd be a really good possibility. So I'm going to see how it shakes out. I want to know what you guys think. I put a poll up, and 80% of people think it's a great idea. 5% of people said, I don't care, don't do nothing. And then 15% said to go to, just go to conventions so they could go meet me at conventions.
Right.
I feel like just walking up and shaking my hand doesn't seem like a lot of value, though. I feel like a lot of value would be, man, I got to watch this aquarium, like how it was set up, how it grew, the fish that are in it. Got to go check it out in person.
Your hand's pretty average.
It feels like, yeah. It feels like the project itself, like if you could actually go and check it out in person.
Yeah.
I see it a lot when people go to see Murphy at the Aquarium Co-op. But if you think about Corey's 800 gallon, like, I don't know, 20 people have seen that in person.
Right.
And 2 of them built it. Right. So I feel like stuff like that where it's like, if I did get like let's say for whatever reason we got like a secondhand 800 gallon that was just like Corey's, right?
Right.
And it was like $1,000 or something. It was just somebody was moving it out of a restaurant. Like I've seen that situation before. Somebody moved a 600 gallon restaurant aquarium. It was in a restaurant. The restaurant went out of business, and they bought it like on the cheap. They basically like the recycled acrylic weight price.
Yeah.
And so they got that. They moved it out, and it was like $1,000. Like I've seen that before. But let's say I got that tank, grew it out, did all that kind of stuff, and then it's like, well, no one could ever really come see it because
that would be your whole
it's
fish
in my
room.
basement.
Your fish room is smaller than that tank.
My fish room's bigger than that tank. I have a 240 in there.
Well, how big is Corey's thing?
It's 800.
Oh, is this tall though? Okay.
It's 3 of the 240 basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's 8 feet long.
4 feet by 4 feet or whatever.
Like 30. I think it's
4 feet by 3 feet.
40 tall, and then 44 front to back. I think.
Okay. Yeah.
I might be wrong, but it's pretty close to that.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's basically a little more of the 3 of the 240. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of the project that's sort of wearing on my head right now. Obviously, I got a bunch of other videos and stuff that I'm working on and all that kind of stuff, but that just really popped into my head just as a reminder. Like, oh yeah, man.
We have a new idea though. Chat has come up with this new idea.
What's
I
that?
started it. You should have a new Patreon level, which is the 737 aquarium, Boeing 737 aquarium. Level.
The Patreon won't go that high.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, that's
The basic
only...
737 maintenance is more than
Well, see, there's a lot of cheap
Patreon
ones because they've all
allow
been
to
falling
put
out
in
of the
as a
sky.
goal. What's that?
There's a lot of cheap ones because they're falling out of the sky. Right? They're
No, that makes them
nosediving.
more expensive because the old ones are more higher in demand.
No, but you get a new one.
The new ones are falling out of the sky.
Yeah, but you don't need to park it. It's only got fish on it.
And it's only just a software training
It's
situation.
only yeah, they only hooked up one sensor. That is dumb. Okay, sorry.
It's life.
I just looked up what the carrying capacity of a 737 was, and it's like exactly 20,000 gallons.
Oh, is it really?
So
You're like, oh, yeah, I see what's happening here.
just fill it up. It's made to hold
Just
pressure.
fill it up and then look in through the little tiny windows.
And then you have all the little tiny windows.
That's not good. You're giving me a migraine. No, actually, just my eyes. I needed to rub my eyes. Okay, so our next Patreon post. Moving on. We can't have an airplane. I can't fly an airplane.
We got a lot of these to do.
Next one we got is from Niels Hansen. Is hi all, greetings from Denmark. Yes. More Denmark, more of the time. That's just what we need. It says an update on my yellow shrimp, Cory, and rocket killifish tank. I have to say, this is the double wide Fluval Flex that I got to see at Interzoo last year. And people were like, there's a double Fluval Flex coming out? It's a double wide.
Is this a double wide?
It looks like the double wide because the perspective looks longer.
Yeah.
It looks longer than the regular Fluval Flex.
It
might
looks
not be,
awesome.
but I do know that the Fluval Flex tanks are out now, the double wide ones.
Mm-hmm.
I saw one the other day. I'm actually just looking at a picture right now, realizing like maybe you're right, maybe it's not.
It might just be. I think it's from the side a little bit, but it still looks cool.
Either way, it's the dope tank.
Yeah.
And but I was saying that like the Fluval Flex double wide is, if I had to go with the glass tank, that might be one of my choices, but
it has a sump in it.
I think it would be number 2 though.
I like the Fluval Evo.
I like the JBJ 65 gallon, I think it's a 65 gallon.
The cube.
I like that one. It's like slightly off cube.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Pretty cool.
I like the Evo. I think it's called the Evo. The freshwater Evo one.
Oh, the Evo's cool.
Because it's like an internal something, and you can make it like a peninsula style tank.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. 3 sides. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-oh. We got an opportunity for the arrow. We better go over here and turn on the arrow, guys. Arrow time. Uh-oh. The arrow's behind the window region. Here we go. Let's shrink this arrow down a little bit. It's a little overwhelming. There's a lot going on here. We got a post here from Michael Irving. I think this is the first time I've ever seen Michael Irving on the show. From the Patreon. I like it. It says, looking for tips on trimming the Coffeefolia jungle, the Anomalochromis. Love it. Am I saying that right? Anomalochromis. Is that right?
I have no idea.
Maybe I'm getting it right. But you really can't see much. Okay, here's where the arrow comes into play. Trimming any Anubias needs to be trimmed only along here on the rhizome. Don't trim the roots. Don't trim anything else. And you can trim them into smaller segments. Although, seeing how big this Coffeefolia is, I might be reticent to actually do that myself because that's a monster. You got a monster on your hands.
That is a huge Anubias.
That Anubias is growing wild, and I really wonder how long it's been. But feel free to trim the rhizome or just sell it as a giant plant because it's probably worth about $100 million at this point. But you could trim it here.
Or part it out like a car.
And just trim it and, actually just part it out, move the stuff around, make the scape a little bit better. But this looks good. I personally would not be messing with this giant plant. But then you could end up in the same position I was with the Bulbitis. I ended up giving that to Cory and putting it into his 800 gallon because it was just overgrowing my stuff. So maybe trim it. Maybe trim it and don't accidentally end up giving it to Cory, you know?
I saw a video with that Bulbitis in that 800. It looks big in that tank.
In the 800?
Yeah.
It's pretty big. It's a big plant. I did good. James Leiser sends this in. So this feeding the snails after dark as opposed to only trying to look for them after dark showed me they really are reproducing. Thanks, Joel and Alyssa. Snail sticks are on order. Yeah, if you guys haven't tried the snail sticks, I'm really happy with those. I don't know why my voltmeter, or this is just a voltage tester, keeps going off in my pocket. There we go. I've got it turned off. Stick it over there. But Yeah, I really enjoyed the snail sticks. They actually they work quite well. They're doing a great job feeding my snails, so I'm doing quite well. So sorry for all the green spot algae on the substrate. I've never tried to get a photo this zoomed in before. Yeah, this little edge right here between the substrate right up close, that's always hard to clean. But I'm glad to hear that James is doing better with his snails and that they are doing well. What do we got here? What do we got?
What, feeding snails?
What do we got here?
I don't know. Would this be a piebald bristlenose? It looks like a bristlenose. I don't know, it's stripy. Me and Plecos don't get along. I only ever had brown ancestors.
Only ever had brown?
Yeah.
That's it?
Well,
You ever got wild with some super reds or some albinos?
no, because I was given brown.
Oh, all right.
So
That
I had
makes
those.
sense.
And then I had 100 of those. And then I had enough.
You had enough of that. Like, I must sell these plecos because they're breeding like crazy. Preston sends this in. Would this be a piebald bristlenose? Now, Alyssa answered down below here, a marble bristlenose. That's what I've typically heard them. I was trying to figure out piebald bristlenose and kind of just trailed off into my own thoughts for a while. Got lost and never really thought about it up until this point in time. It might be, but I've always heard them as a marble bristlenose. This sort of half and half,
Yeah.
with the albino on the front is what I've always heard them called. So maybe in your area that's what they're calling them.
Calico
It's,
bristlenose?
oh yeah, maybe calico. Yeah, I've heard that before. I'm not super deep into crazy coloration, realistically, when it comes to the when it comes to plecos and stuff like that. Like, I feel like they're, pretty, because it doesn't really like change their personality or anything like that. It just they're kind of just doing their thing, and I'm pretty happy with what they do already.
Yeah. Super useful if they're like working for you in the tank.
Mm-hmm. Jasper Craze sent this one in. He just made these coconut huts for the Corydoras, but turns out only the Pandagaras are interested. What are your experience with coconut huts? I've had lots of experience with coconut huts. They do wonders for a lot of breeding and stuff like that. People swear by them.
I had a
I think-
Pistos who liked them.
I think Dean makes them for the Aquarium Co-op, or some other guy makes them for the Aquarium Co-op. Most of my conversations about coconut husks has always been revolved around how much they cost. And that seems like a dumb conversation to reference to on the live stream. So what experience you got?
I had some Pistos, some Borellis breed in coconut huts.
That makes sense.
Coconut husk huts.
Husk huts.
Husk huts.
As you guys know, coconut doesn't really affect your water too badly. It doesn't really do too much
Yeah.
to your water.
And I had a Pandagara in that tank,
Mm-hmm.
but the Pistos got mad at it every time.
Every time?
Whenever it got near,
Oof.
they were
Pistos can be kind of rude, territorial.
angry.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it seemed to like rasp on it. I don't know if it was just trying to eat the algae that was growing on it, or if it was just doing its sort of suckerfish face thing,
Yeah.
right? Or if it liked eating it. I don't
Mhm.
know. I didn't have enough experience, but a Pistos liked breeding in there, so
Oh.
that's cool.
I like it when a Pistos breed, but they can get territorial.
Yeah,
They
they killed
start
all.
freaking out and yelling at other fish. You're like, dude.
They killed all the Corridoras
have
that
to
were in
go.
that tank.
Tyrone Wiley sent this in, trying to figure out how to post a picture of the tank up. And
Did they get
this has been an ongoing problem for some people. I know that Patreon has... What's going on here? Let me do this. There we go. Oops. We'll put the heart back. I know that some people have had problems with trying to post things up. You do have to generally go to the desktop in order to post things. So there can be a bit of a problem, but Patreon has been updating the page a lot. So they've been changing the layout and stuff like that. But Alyssa gives the little rundown here on how to do it if you are encountering problems. Because it seems to be... sort of iPhone versus Android versus all that kind of stuff as to why people run into this problem. So, but as you guys can see, it is possible to do. You might just have to figure out like, oh man, there's this button you got to push, and then it works good. So, or works well, I guess. James R sent in a little sextuplet of pictures here. A couple Swas betas. Good looking aquascapes. I'm waiting for this one on the upper left to grow in until I can see that.
Jungle vibe.
James mentions, I didn't realize I had multiple tank syndrome until it was too late. And that's right. Vince, with the follow-up down here, says first step is admitting you have a problem. Second step is going to the local Petco to see if the dollar per gallon sale is going on, which I can verify from yesterday. It is indeed going on.
It is.
I went over there and had to buy a 40-gallon breeder. Yozowie. You know what I mean?
James, I don't know if you want any unsolicited advice, but if you want to kind of solve your multiple tank syndrome temporarily, you could add a background to all of your tanks.
You could buy a 240.
And it's like a new tank.
You could buy a
You could buy a
300.
240. That only solves it until your wallet comes back.
You could buy a 480.
You could buy a 480. Well, or you have to wait for someone to make that, and then all the waiting counts scratches the itch.
Ooh. Does the waiting scratch the itch for you? Is that how that goes?
Buy a tank on layaway so that you're like buying the tank every month.
Oh, so you're making payments.
So you're making payments on it.
James R., the total noob question. What would the stocking amount be for a 5-gallon shrimp tank if I wanted to do shrimp and something like CPDs or the rice fish?
Well,
what do you got?
I don't know if rice fish would be. I know that CPDs like to eat shrimplets.
Yes. Celestial Pearl Danios will pretty much eat anything that will fit in their mouth.
They'll eat anything that'll fit in their mouth, and they like to hide in plants. Mm-hmm. So they go browse all the space with all the shrimps. So you might end up with no shrimp eventually with CPDs. I don't know about rice fish, like
rice
or
fish
zawas
seem
or whatever.
pretty passive.
Yeah,
I would opt for the rice fish more myself because they're normally swimming up at the top.
Yeah.
They spend a lot of time surface skimming and cruising around up at the top. So I would go with the rice fish, and then anything that's 5 gallons like this, you can already see you have a little bit of evaporation from where it was at before. So bear in mind that the water parameters are going to shift with that evaporation pretty rapidly. So
yeah,
keep that in mind. Water quality is going to be an issue in a tank this small. Trust me when I say I love doing nano tanks. My next project is a micro nano Pico.
One of those light bulb tanks?
Nope, it's a Pico metaframe tank.
Huh.
And it's actually a classic metaframe.
That's cool.
Uh-huh. It's actually an old school vintage.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm waiting on my sponge filter. I got all my parts except the sponge filter. I have about 60 pounds of spider wood right now ready to go in it.
To go into a Pico...
A Pico tank?
A Pico tank?
Yeah, it's about a half a gallon, maybe a gallon. It's going to fit it right in there.
The black hole of spider wood.
It's magic.
So I have a 7.5 gallon tank effectively with the water that's in there. And I'm considering taking the fish out of it because I think the parameters might be too variable for the shrimp that are in it.
Yeah.
So
you definitely can, just with a little bit of feeding and stuff like that with fish.
Yeah.
Like it can really send things out of control.
Just a warning. But you got plants in there. You put a faster growing plant and it might help your parameters.
James. Hey buddy. Did you get trapped in here for the show? I know he wants to leave. Alyssa Bentley of the Corvus Oscen channel show fame sends in Endler guppy varieties. What would you suggest as the best way to find out some cool strain you pulled from your Endler culls and have been cultivating for color and form already exists in the world as a defined and named strain of Endlers? I mostly want to be the one who names my little dudes, provided I can get them to breed true. What do you got?
Well, I have no Aquabid. That's
what
all
I
know.
would do is I would bag them up and take them to the Guppy World Championships in Vienna. Which I was at last year.
Yeah.
Totally awesome. Because you make entries based on the tail shape, essentially. You enter a category based on the tail shape. So then you could get into that category and you could really meet some of the experts from many, many countries, and they could tell you whether they've seen that one or not. That might be a way to do it.
I feel like you could just post photos of selling them on Aquabid for $1 million because then no one will buy them.
$1 million.
Right? And then people will send
you... What do you mean no one will buy them?
Well, if they do, that's cool.
What about being famous? from YouTube.
If you have like, the unobtainium guppy endler, and
Unobtainium.
you put it on Aquabid, that's where a lot of like guppy endler people go. Then you'll get a lot of angry emails of people who tell you what it is.
That could work as long as you stay anonymous a little bit.
Yeah, as long as you stay anonymous. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want people tripping.
If you want to know something, one of the best ways to do it is to say the wrong answer on the internet.
That's right. Yeah. Jessica Thiegartner sends this in. Says, so I did a thing and saw this at Petco while grabbing sponges. I went, oh, look, good roots and tall, but no tag. What is this plant? Thanks. Thanks to Alyssa for the secret code, aka the site to get to the community page. What do we got here? What do you think?
Looks like a sword. Amazon sword.
Amazon sword.
Well, it's Petco? Yeah, it's gonna be an Amazon sword.
Yeah, I think you're about 100% correct.
Yeah.
This looks like an Amazon sword until we get the underwater leaf growth. We gotta really get a better idea on the specific. It looks to be fairly generic Amazon sword, and I would not be surprised if that's what Petco is selling, because that's often what Petco sells. What is going on with the light sprinkling of fluorescent substrate?
Hey, you can't hate,
That's
man.
my question. I'm not hating. I have
They're
a question.
glowfish eggs.
It hurts my brains. I love you, Jessica, but this little bits of pieces of fluorescent in here is driving me bonkers. Yeah, you do have a pretty standard Amazon sword here, so I would just continue to let it grow. If it is the standard varietal, it will grow much longer, kind of nicer looking leaves, a little bit of waviness to them. They won't stay this weird flat. It looks like a spoon. It looks kind of like a spoon.
Yeah, it looks like a spoon.
Looks like a spoon situation. It'll grow much nicer looking, which I would look forward to if I were you or me. I don't know. If I was a human. Dominique Nadeau sends this in, update from last week. At the end of the week, we got an update. I'm so excited with this one. The equipment part is now done. The aquarium is up and running since last Sunday, and there are no leaks. I need to set up the filtration, the heaters, move my CO2 tank from my other aquarium, and move my Flue Ball 3.0 onto this tank. This is looking pretty good. I'm not 100% sure what these T's are in the plumbing. And I do feel like I'm a little bit concerned at this spot right in here, where this drain is dropping down and then suddenly making a turn, instead of doing something a little bit smoother than that with the... Oh, no, I'm moving the whole page. Instead of doing something... Why? Grab the arrow. Ah! There. I'm going to move the arrow over there, and I'll move this back. Sorry, guys. Thanks for your patience. Sometimes the things move around, and I'm just trying to move the arrow around. But there's some T's in here that I'm a little bit concerned about, and I would definitely take into consideration to kind of straighten out the flow on your plumbing a little bit. But otherwise, I'm stoked. The cabinet looks good. The sump looks good. The tank looks good. I'm stoked. I want to see where this goes, and which makes me a little bit upset because that just means I have to keep waiting.
Man, patience.
Virtue? Pain?
Yeah. I think most people in the aquarium hobby, once they've been there for a while, are pretty patient folk.
Yeah. Yeah, it becomes easier to get a little more patience, that's for sure. Preston John sent this in. Get back in my belly. He's feeding scuds to the old puffers there, and somehow this one goes in and then comes back out. And I don't get it. I don't understand.
Man,
I don't understand how a scud could basically like escape a puffer's mouth hole.
He could have had super scuds if he saved that one.
Yeah, apparently. You should have
mutant super scuds.
Yeah, you should have bred and raised that one's babies.
There's your new thing to breed. Breed a line of mutant super scuds.
Super scuds. I like it. Johan sends this in, our fish of the week, the African butterfly fish. The African butterfly fish is a small freshwater fish with distinctive characteristics that is the only species in the family. Pantodontidae.
It's Latin.
Pantodontidae. They live in small African rainforest creeks, spending their lives swimming at the water surface. They're extremely well adapted to the environment with a brownish color, giving them camouflage, and they are also able to breathe air, aka the labyrinth gill. Anyone? Labyrinth gill?
Labyrinth.
Anyone? Nice. Their visual system in particular perfectly fits the way of enabling Pantodon to see in the air and the water at the same time, which I think most people don't realize, like how difficult that is, because when you like look in the water, you're just kind of seeing in there, but you're not realizing like you have this crazy, it's like 7 inches off refraction. It's super weird once you realize when you're looking and you're looking down in the water, you're just really not gonna you're not gonna be able to see straight. Like it makes this crazy distortion. And so that I'm sure that's one of the big reasons for their survival is being able to see through that distortion and find food and stuff. They also have unique wing-like pectoral fins that allow ballistic jumping to escape predators or jump to catch prey. The African butterfly fish is a remarkable fish. Individuals in different populations look the same, but they're different genetically by huge amounts. More than the difference between humans and chimpanzees. They look so similar, even experts struggle to tell them apart. However, a team of scientists found striking differences in their genetic information. The genetic sequences of the African butterfly fish differed by 15% between the Congo and Niger populations. This high figure surprised the team, as within individuals of the same species, you would normally expect a difference of only 2 to 3%. In fact, this 15% difference is more typical of what you would find a whole fish family, or within a whole fish family. The team found this genetic separation had occurred more than 57 million years ago. Whoa. That's crazy. Thank you for sending that in, Johan. I feel like that was a worthy explanation of that fish. I feel like that was right on par. Grassy Peak sends us in an awesome picture of the crystal shrimps going on. Grassy Peak checking in with a Friday evening feast. These guys are part of my 7th graders breeding project, or 7th graders project to select for high white, as in triple S grade crystal shrimp. Note the detritus worms have not caused any noticeable problems as of yet. Cheers from Chris. What do you got about detritus worms?
I don't ever worry about detritus worms. I don't think that they're all they're chopped up to be.
Like planarians?
Like planarias. Yeah. I think that, one, they move pretty slow, and shrimp are live birth things. So you already have a fully grown, fully shaped baby shrimp, a mini shrimp, when they come out.
Mm-hmm.
So they can run away from all the planaria. They don't get eaten by them or anything.
Yeah.
It's indicative that there's gunk in your substrate.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, if you have planaria and you're okay with it, I'd say add snails. And then you don't have the gunk and you instead have snails. Or if you have planaria and you don't want snails, you could add a fish if you want like a wholesome tank.
Mm-hmm.
If you just want a shrimp tank and you have planaria, then just feed a little less. But see, there's a pond snail, bladder snail, right in
there's a pond snail right there.
There in the photo. So I think there's almost never going to be detritus worms because the snail is going to eat all the detritus.
That's a good point. Snails. Jessica Thegardner with a follow-up says, it's my son's tank and decor decision. LOL. Hashtag autism.
That's good.
That is good.
Whatever.
I was just saying, like, hey, to each his own.
Whatever makes him happy.
I'm not mad at you.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just saying, like, it would be really hard for me to look at the fluorescent gravel, you know?
Yeah. You know, it's whatever keeps them interested. That's all you really need.
Got to get SpongeBob SquarePants in there. That would just be better.
One of those UFO bubblers.
All around. Oh, the UFO bubbler?
I like the UFO bubblers.
I got the USB.
A USB bubbler?
Air pump.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah. See, when people are like all infatuated with USB powered things, USB is 5 volts, and if you have a really good plug, you can do 2 amps. So you can do 10 watts.
Yeah.
That's like more than most tiny air pumps. So you should be able to power an air pump off of USB.
Maybe.
But you need the right electric motor for it.
Maybe.
Maybe. USB.
It's going to be a lot. It's going to cost $1 million on a 3D printer. Rumbus, our final post of the day, says, on my way home from the first Aquarium Weekend convention in Stockholm, Sweden, won a filter from the lottery.
Nice.
Oh, you got in on the drawing at the Aquarium Helg. I don't know how to speak Swedish, but I want to know. I wish I could just wake up and speak a couple more languages.
Oh, and I don't.
That'd be dope.
I'm dyslexic. Speaking English is hard enough. Just as one language.
Yeah, but what if you could speak Japanese really well?
I've always wondered if dyslexia works differently in other languages that are like pictorial languages.
Yeah, I don't know. It could just be because English is ridiculous.
Because like Japanese, I know there's like the English like where you use just 26 letters or whatever to write words, but then they also have like a million pictures.
Yeah.
So does dyslexia work on those pictures?
They got those photos, bro.
Yeah.
They're like...
I've never known...
I was going to say that they're like histograms, but that's not right. They're like Instagrams.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
They're like emojis.
Emoji posts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Cheshire Cat says, "Oh man, looks like I got my post in too late. If this is the last Patreon post, I don't know. Let me double check. What do you got over there, Jay?
I have to
Did you find
reload.
something good?
Oh, it's puppy photos.
Oh man,
You wrote the longest post ever there, Cheshire Cat.
what's that?
Oh, she just has... Let's see. She says, I have a 25-gallon...
Did I miss it?
No, it's above room busts. It came in at... Oh, there's the time.
I'm gonna close this.
It came in at 2:58.
Ah, that's why.
So we didn't have time to make it kosher for the show.
Edit. Let me read it real quick while you talk about something.
I don't know what I'm going to talk about. Let's see what the chat's talking about.
Yeah. Check
Okay.
out the chat.
Mr. B's Fishing Things wants to split CO2 between 2 tanks. How do you suggest I do it? 1 tank? Yeah, so if you got like a 5 or a 10 pound CO2 tank, which is sort of the small version of the industrial diameter CO2 tank that you'd see on like a welder or something like that, then you can get a regulator for that just screws right on. And some of those regulators, you can get ones that have multiple outlets. So you can send CO2 to multiple tanks. And I think the co-op even carries one now that lets you have multiple bubbler assemblies for multiple tanks off of one CO2 canister or tank. Right?
What?
What's the brand that the co-op carries for CO2 regulators?
CO2 art.
CO2 Art. Yeah, yes. The CO2 Art Pro lets you buy more additions.
The
More
Elite.
The LE?
The Elite.
Oh, the Elite.
Yeah,
Okay.
it lets you expand. The
Lets you
Pro
expand.
is just it's individual.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, so if you could do it with one bubbler and Y off that bubbler, but then you don't actually know if the amount of CO2 is going to each tank. Like if you have one diffuser that's lower in a tank than in another tank, then there's more pressure on that lower diffuser. And so you actually have less CO2 getting to that tank. Nice. Yeah, okay, so this is one of those expansion bubblers for the Elite. So there's a CO2 canister here and a regulator. And then the CO2 that's already been pressure dropped from the canister where it's thousands of psi. It's coming through here at tens of psi. And then you can use this little screw doohickey at the bottom to adjust the precise amount of CO2 that's coming up and bubbling through this little vial. And then this goes out to your tank. And so here's where you can count how many bubbles per second of CO2 go out to your tank. And when you want to add another one, there's a port on the end, so you can just add another one and another one and another one. I don't know how many they say you're allowed to add, but
6, I think.
yeah.
I think 6 is the max.
Okay. Yeah. So you could have 6 of these guys all stacked along like this.
Or maybe 4. Might be 4.
Some number.
A number.
A number. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you can technically have more just by wiring those, and then you just have to understand how much pressure is on each one of those. The safe way is this. The problem is it's expensive, but you only have to buy the expensive thing once. So a regulator is $200 or $300 for a good one that you won't ever have to replace ever. And a CO2 tank might cost you $40 or $50 initially, but then you only have to refill it like every 4 months to a year, depending on how much it is. And when you refill it, it'll cost $10. So
15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go to a welding supply place, it doesn't cost a lot. They go through a lot more gas than that.
Yeah, they go through crazy amounts of shield gas, that's for sure.
And you don't want to buy a fancy CO2 tank, because most places don't refill your own tank. They just
swap it.
Trade it. Yeah. So if you buy a really nice tank, then you just donated a really good tank for a really cruddy looking one.
Yeah, one with dirt on it.
One with dirt
So
on it.
sad
And that's
looking.
been chucked around in a welding shop.
Yep, buy one off Craigslist for like $10.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah.
We got our final post of the day from the Cheshire Cat. It says, I got a 25-gallon, 5 more than my apartment allows. Shh, don't tell anybody. Tank from Craigslist a couple weeks ago for $50, including the gravel heater, hood with built-in lights, and filter with Marineland Eclipse PFE2 pump, new BioWell filter, plastic plants, and a couple decorations. A few questions. The first thing is, any ideas for eventually replacing whatever lighting this is with an LED? Yeah. Definitely get the Fluval.
Mm-hmm.
Get the Fluval. They make one that's 20 inches long. If you can't afford that, get the Phoenix Planted Plus. But I definitely like the Fluval 3.0 and how small this tank is. I think that light's only like $50 or something like that. Maybe $60.
I think
a small one.
I think the Nano's like $70.
Oh, the Nano's like, yeah, the Nano's 74. Isn't it?
Yeah. It's like $75.
Yeah.
Which is fine, because like you can, I mean, the Nano, those Fluval lights are awesome.
Yep.
And
I had somebody recently get super mad at the Fluval lights because
they don't
reset when their power turns off and on to when their power goes out.
Yeah.
And my question was like, how often does your power go out?
Right.
And they're like 3 or 4 times a month or something like that. And I was like, you need to get your power figured out and stop worrying about fish tank lights, dude. That's weird.
Yeah, depending on how long. I had an uninterruptible power supply, which like computer nerds know what that is, for my air pump in my fish room.
Yeah.
Because that ran all of my filters. So, and that was my fish room was out in the garage, and the garage was a different building, and it had I was renting, so it had a rickety power line that went to it. Yeah. And whenever the wind blowed, the power went out.
Right.
So I got an UPS there for that.
You got
pump.
an UPS?
An UPS. An uninterrupted power supply.
Uninterrupted power.
Uninterrupted power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that was like a 50-watt pump or 60-watt pump.
Yeah.
So that UPS could run for 6 hours, 8 hours. That the
Part
pump.
2.
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so you got the battery backup.
Yeah.
You could get a battery backup. I highly recommend it. I would get 4 deep cycle batteries, chain them together, and put a decent photocell up on your roof for a little solar powering, and that should power like 4 deep cell marine batteries should power my fish room for probably 24 hours. Not every single thing in there, definitely not the dehumidifier.
Right.
But just to keep the pumps and a little bit of heat running and turn the lights off, it would be no problem.
Yeah.
You know, for like 24 hours. Especially with them being DC pumps and stuff. It doesn't chew a ton of amperage, which is important. Number 2, any tips with this filtration system? I don't want to buy cartridges for it. Maybe a sponge of some sort in the long space. Currently have some pebbles and blackstone gravel in there. Also need to figure out what to do about the intake since it's rectangular and large, and I haven't seen a sponge for it. Fill or wrap with polyfloss. I actually have a Dollar Tree fine thin cloth wrapped around it and held with rubber bands, and it worked well with the dusty substrate I already spent hours washing, but it's tacky and not ideal. What do you got, brah?
I mean, you could just put sponge in it. You know,
Sponge.
just put sponge. Just get.
You looking for that 50 part per ppm? What is it?
50 ppm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, what's in there?
You need that loose sponge because this is a Marine Lab filter. It's probably going to be broken. It's a Marine Lab filter with like the bio wheel on it, right?
Yeah, it's got a bio wheel. Yeah, yeah. I mean, 50
the
might
bio
be.
wheel is the worst thing ever.
50.
You're like, hey, we need you guys to show up every month and give us $20 so your filter still works. You're like, what?
50 might be too fine. I think actually, I would say go with
30?
like 30 or 25,
20?
and then
10? 6?
10 won't ever filter out any.
0?
I mean, yeah.
0?
Depends on how much fish is in there.
0.
You technically don't need any fish. I'm working on a project where I'm trying to figure out how much ammonia can get absorbed by a blank tank. Like
Just a tank filled with
just
water?
the surface with water with circulation.
Is there any media or anything in it? Just
No,
a pump.
just pump. And just enough
Is
to
the
move
pump
stuff
brand
around.
new?
I don't know if I might just do an air pump because it'll be easier to measure the flow from the air pump.
Just the volume of area, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is the air pump brand new?
I mean, it can run. It's a whatever you call that, Gemco pump. So I have to turn it down anyways. We're gonna run 30 tanks, and I'll turn it down to 1 10-gallon and measure that.
Candy Overhaul says Aquarium Co-op sells coarse sponge mat that you can cut to fit.
Yeah,
That's what I would do.
that'll do all
Something
your
like that.
That'll do all your
I mean,
bacterial stuff.
personally, I would just throw out that marine line crap in that hood. Trust me, you guys. I tried to adapt that kind of stuff. I ended up switching over to AquaClear filters. They're the only ones that I could really rely on to actually work properly. That doesn't mean they're the only ones that operate correctly. It's the only ones that I could rely on to operate, and that they operated correctly for me. They worked quite well. I've spent many years and many orders of getting all sorts of crazy lights in the mail and stuff, and trying those out, and swapping dimmers and soldering things, adding new outlet plugs to stuff because they would ship with no cord.
Right.
Just all sorts of stuff like that. I really tried to find something that was accommodating and cheaper, and ended up spending a lot more money than I should have, and just bought something cool like the Fluval 3.0. But at the time, the Fluval 3.0 did not exist, so keep that in mind.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't even an option at the time.
I got to stand on the
only
shoulders
cool
of giants.
the only cool light option that was around back then was high pressure sodiums, which just are so, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean.
They couldn't even give away a high pressure sodium light at the last auction we had.
I don't have a fixture to run it.
They had a fixture and a power supply, and they couldn't even give it away
At
GSAS.
the GSAS?
Yeah.
I left before the auction because I didn't.
I was like 11 o'clock at night.
I didn't want to. Yeah, it was so late. I was trying to get home to my baby, and I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
And when I say my baby, I mean like both of my babies. You know, my baby and my baby. One's Victoria, one's Olivia Jean. You know.
Yeah.
OJ, the
Yeah.
juice.
The juice.
Running touchdowns, bro. I was trying to get home. So I think if I'd seen that, I probably would have just been like, give me that. I'm going to put it in my backyard and signal aliens or something.
Yeah. Unless you have something.
LED
reason,
really is the way to go. Just
Yeah.
make the transition.
Just get LED lights. You won't regret them. You can spend more than you want to on an LED light.
You're going to spend more than you feel like you want to.
Yeah.
But I think really the longevity, how well they work, the adaptability, all that kind of stuff, I think is worthwhile.
And then those aqua clears are cheap, like $35 or something like that for like the AquaClear.
I think they're like $29.99.
Yeah,
something like that.
They're not expensive.
The AC50, I think the AC50 is like 35.
Yeah, the amount of money that you might spend trying to make your other one work you're gonna spend $15 trying to make that one work. You just get an AquaClear.
And there are a bunch of people on Amazon selling AquaClears for like less than you're allowed to.
Yeah, you could take advantage of.
Corey was like raging at that the other day. It was so funny.
Yeah,
he's like, they're selling them for less than the manufacturer advertised price, which is like the legislation around advertised price.
It's like literally illegal.
And it's like the legislation to make sure that people don't like sell stuff for under. Let me see if I can find one. You keep talking.
So those AquaClears are just a big bucket that you can fill with whatever you want. You just fill them up with sponge or rocks or anything that has surface area in it, and they're gonna do a better job than no filter, because you're just moving water around. So, and they're not very expensive, and I like them because they're really quiet. That's the key. Like the bio wheel squeaks. At least the only bio wheel I ever had, which I got secondhand. The wheel would turn around, and its little axe would go, and it was so annoying. My whole fish room life was trying to make my fish room quiet, and that bio wheel was annoying.
Oh, check this out. The AquaClear 30. How much you think?
Oh, I saw the price. I'm sorry.
What did you think before you cheated? You cheater.
I thought a 30 was $29.99 or whatever. I thought a 30 was 30.
That's $22.65 and free 1 day.
And free 1 day.
Oh my God! Let me get you the link. I'll get you the link.
Oh, the best part about being near an Amazon hub.
Check this out. This comes with the sponge, carbon, and biomedia in it too.
Yeah,
in the box,
and
ready to go. So the first time around is only going to cost $22.65. The carbon is useless. Just throw it away. You don't need that.
Well, you can keep it if you ever do meds.
I mean, if you do meds or something,
you can keep it for the one time you do meds.
Yeah, but the one time you do meds is like a year and a half from now.
Oh, and the carbon's all junk anyways.
Well, yeah, and you're like, where was that? And it was like under a thing in a drawer, and it like got pierced open, and then there's like,
no, the drawer is black.
Yeah, there's black stuff all in the back of the drawer, and you're just like, what? I don't know. Somebody's trying to sabotage me, and then you're like, oh, it's me. Whoops. And then honestly, if you go, where's my affiliate link here? Hold on.
Yeah.
Log in. I have to log back in, guys.
I would just pile. When I had my AquaClear, I used it as like, because my whole fishing was matin filters, because matin filters are cooler than sponge filters.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't have
cheap.
my but I don't have my thing for the light.
Oh no.
It went away.
But the AquaClear was like, that was like my, gotta filter this tank, and I would just stick it on the tank, and it'd be in the front where you couldn't see what was going on in the tank anymore. And it was fine though. But I liked it because it was just a big bucket, and you could put whatever media you wanted in there to have it. So I would just put gravel in it from a tank that already had living stuff.
Oh yeah. That is something that I think a lot of people don't realize, is that you're just trying to create more surface area for your bacteria to inhabit.
Right.
That's it. You know, and there's a lot of kind of gimmicky stuff out there right now, whether it be like the BioHome Ultra meat, whatever.
Right.
The Matrix nonsense, which is just fancy pumice. I personally use the bio rings because they're easy to move around, they're easy to rinse off. It's sintered glass, and people would like to be like, there's downsides to those. And like, yeah, I guess, man, like there's all sorts of downsides to things, but it's not degrading in any way. So it's not releasing anything into my water column. It's sintered glass, which means that it's been blown up in a kiln. It's a kiln process that blows it up, and then they shape it into the ring form,
which means it's pretty sterile.
Comes out and it gets cut, so it's sterile when I get it. Yeah. Well, it's pretty sterile. I mean, it's not pretty perfect, sterile, probably, but so that's why I use that stuff, and it's cheap. It's more affordable, just so I can grow bacteria on it, because I just want more surface area and something that's portable to move around if I need to cycle a new tank, or let's say I had something I had a tank crash, and I needed to add some, I had to like do some kind of crazy meds or something in there. I don't know. And then I would had lost the cycle. I had no bacteria growing in there, so
Yeah. And you're only ever going to have as much bacteria as can feed off of the ammonia in the water anyways. It doesn't matter if you have...
Alana Suki says, careful getting the filters on Amazon. Mine came broken. Instead, you can try to price match at PetSmarts. I do not recommend going to a store and trying to price match. Don't do it.
Especially off
You
of
will
Amazon.
end up spending more money than you wanted to. More money, more time. When the Amazon's free one day, and you know what you're gonna get
in Seattle area,
just go to the store. I've gone to the store and tried to price match all sorts of stuff, in lots and lots and lots and lots of different types of stores, whether it's Best Buy or Home Depot or PetSmart or whatever. It is always chaos, and it is always, sometimes it's like they'll do it, sometimes they won't do it, but it's always chaos.
Right.
It's guaranteed chaos. Oh, I gotta go find the manager. It's just a nightmare. So just find a good price on Amazon. It's fine. And I was trying to find the link for the Fluval lights, but Corey is the cheapest for those. So just go to Aquarium Co-op because
I haven't seen anyone try to trick the manufactured price, suggested price, or minimum price.
Yeah, Corey's selling them as cheaply as you're allowed to legally.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was just gonna say that it doesn't matter how big of a filter you have if you have no fish in your tank. There's the bio load that exists in a tank is not equivalent to the filter. It's equivalent to the fish.
Right.
And so bio load is equivalent to the amount of bacteria you have. So if you have a giant filter, it might actually be worse for your filtration to have more media in it than less, because there's more places for the critical population for your bacteria.
Right.
They don't all buddy up with each other.
That's a good point. Yep.
So there are some things like a sump. Your filtration is basically like the gravel in a tank. You're not using it. You're not trying to push everything through it, right? And so you don't really care because it's kind of water volume is fixing all that. But
that's true.
If you have a AquaClear 110 on a 5-gallon.
My alarm just went off.
Ooh, okay.
Sorry to interrupt you, but you're right. And we'll have to get back to that. Hopefully, if we can have you back next week on a Friday, we'll see if we can.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe just make
We'll
it
see.
less time.
See what my work turns out.
We showed up early, so we've been hanging out. But we'll see if we can get you back next week. We're going to try to get more guests on the show. Hopefully, I think maybe we'll have a listen next week. I'm not sure. Maybe it'll just be me yammering on about nonsense. You know what I'm saying. John Gonzalez gave us a $2 super chat. Thank you very much. I just realized what time it is, and we have a sitter for 4 more minutes or 5 more minutes. So
and a
we
crying
have to
baby.
Go. What's that?
And a crying baby.
And a crying baby. So... And I wouldn't be able to leave her out there anyhow. So thank you everybody for coming out. Thank you everybody for hitting the join button for Patreon, for super chats, all that kind of stuff. Thank you very much, guys. And I hope I'm gonna keep I don't know, satisfying like a cookie.
Keep everyone happy.
Keep everybody happy. All right. Thanks. Later.